Hello, this is Gene. I want to talk about what's going on in Gainesville today. The University of Florida is not really hosting Richard Spencer. He rented out a private area on the university campus. So it's strange because I was going to take my car in this morning, and strangely, I have the same car that was used in Charlottesville. Mine is newer, of course, but it was the first oil change. So I went in there, dropped it off, went to the waiting area, and there was wall-to-wall coverage about Spencer's little visit today. So I tweeted out a little thing about what's going on here. I don't live in Gainesville, but I'm close enough. This is the actual tweet that I sent out, and I sent it out to some of the people in the alt-right, and I thought how stupid this is. And what's really this video is really going to be part of my Cucks of the week, and I'm going to basically say not the University of Florida, because the University of Florida, the president there allowed him to be on campus as far as the geographic the area of the University of Florida. But all the young co-heads going on Twitter last night and this morning saying that they're so afraid that something's going to happen to them. They're so fearful for their lives. And the other part is a lot of guys, mostly guys, a lot of girls as well, and even in this house, talk about, well, I'm all for free speech, but not because we don't want him to talk, that he shouldn't be allowed to talk in public schools up in universities because of what he believes. In my own house, this happened this morning because this was starting already, and everybody was talking about it, and people were saying he's a white supremacist and all this stuff, which he's not really. He's a white nationalist or identitarian, whatever. We all know what I'm talking about here. He's not a white supremacist. He's never said that. He believes that all races have value in this world. He just wants to save our race. So, but my wife said it this morning, saying, well, he shouldn't be allowed to go to the University of Florida, and they're spending all this money on her. And I said, we almost got in a big argument about it. And she doesn't know exactly everything I do online. I've done over 170 videos, and I don't think she's watched one of them. So I don't know what that means, but she knows that I've changed a lot as far as where I believe. I don't really talk about Richard Spencer in this house. But she says, I'm all for freedom of speech, but he shouldn't be allowed to do it on university campuses. I'm like, that's where it always should be done. It's a public university that's paid for by taxpayers. That's where you should be able to have these type of debates, and you can just say you don't want to listen to it. And she went upstairs to finish up before she went to school this morning, to work this morning. So we didn't really have a further debate, and I really don't want to have it because she's indoctrinated to all this stuff, and she's so stubborn she won't listen to anything else. And this is a woman that was so liberal, or excuse me, so conservative when I met her. She went to college later in life, and she became, I'm not going to say really radicalized liberal, but she really got into social issues, and she got a degree in sociology. And that's how that happens, isn't it? You know, the fact that we can have these conversations, and she doesn't really trust what I have to say, you know, but I'm not going to sit here to bash her, okay? This whole thing is the people in Gainesville that are freaking out that they think something's going to happen because what happened in Charlottesville, like Richard had anything to do with that at any port at all. He didn't tell that kid to go flying down this street, and a girl had a heart attack and she died, and they want to say that this kid was trying to kill all these people. They don't look at the entire thing, that he was traumatized by his car being beat on, and he was made to go down that street where all these Antifa was. So it's just these people don't have the ability to look online and see what actually happened there, and they won't even listen to what Richard Spencer's. I mean, he's got his own YouTube channel. You can listen to what his speech is. I've listened to probably 15 to 20 of them. None of that really would have offended me. Even when I was really a liberal, I wouldn't have said anything like, oh, fuck, he shouldn't be allowed to talk. And the problem is that my wife and some of the other people, when I talk about Ben Shapiro, this happened to, and Ann Coulter and all this, she just like, oh, that shouldn't happen then. He should be able to speak anywhere. But apparently, Richard Spencer, because he might say that he's supportable, he supports the idea of a white ethno-state, something I don't necessarily agree with. I don't think it's realistic. But that is something that's going to really make you go crazy. The fact that he said this, it doesn't make him a KKK person, but either way, you cannot all of a sudden say that you're no longer about free speech and then say, except in his case, and we're not going to do it on public universities. This is where these type of things need to be talked out. If you have a problem with it, you listen to what he has to say his argument or his is wrong, and this is why. And you always, if you think that he's so bad out there, it's so bad for everybody else, you want this person to spout all this information out there, and then you can say this is all bullshit, and people just turn their back on him. When you do something like this, when the governor says it is a state of emergency for a guy like Richard Spencer to talk at university, it just makes him so and more important than he really is. I said it before on some of my videos, I don't look at him as the leader of the quote-unquote alt-right. Whatever that means, most of the people in the alt-right, most of the people in the alt-right realize that Richard Spencer, whether he coined the term, that he's more leftist than a lot of us are. He believes in single payer or something like that. Most of his stuff is left in what he believes. He's been a Democrat his whole life. He's always voted for Democrats. He's really a lefty, except for this one area where he thinks he needs that the white race needs to be saved in the Western Western civilization. The rest of what he believes is more leftist in theory. But I listen to what he has to say. I look at him as somebody as a mouthpiece for something of the alt-right. I listen to other people. It's just why we can't have this conversation. Why can't people listen to this stuff? Or if you don't, just don't show up. The fact is, there are going to be more people that are going to be on the left that are saying they're going to do something that's going to be violence. The alt-right has never done anything violent that I've seen, and I've been covering it or supporting it or whatever for the last 2 or 3 years. And the fact that these girls are online, these 18, 19-year-olds that are actually going to Gainesville, probably live in the dorms, and they're so fearful, but apparently they're not so fearful that, that 1 out of 4 is going to get raped. Apparently they don't worry about other men on campus that are going to come after them, although we all know that stat is a bunch of bullshit. But it's just craziness what they get up fearful, because the media has just either propped up Richard way too much than what he deserves, and then how the people react to it, and they're all reacting because of little girls like this, and I say little girls because that's how they're acting, that causes older men that are in government positions to I have to say it's a state of immersion. So I'm not blaming the University of Florida president. He allowed him to go there. He's not a cuck, but our governor is a cuck, and he should have done this. And everybody that's sitting there saying that they're fearful for their lives because you live somewhere in Gainesville are all cucks. And the point is, and I would love to say this because I'm a Seminole guy, that I think Gainesville's a bunch of cucks, but I know this would happen in Tallahassee if he went there to talk there as well. And we have in history that he's went to Auburn, he's going to Texas A&M, he's going to other different places that none of this shit happened. Now people protest, and there might have been some skirmishes, but nobody got hurt per se. What I did like to see was this morning on Sirius, they actually had some lead-in about it, talking about his speech, and saying that the governor did this because leftist educators from Berkeley and all that stuff, that we know that they do this, that is why the governor did this. Now, maybe that's the right way to go. He doesn't want anything to go down. But either way, the lefts are going to still say it's on him because he's coming there, so everybody has to be on edge because he's sitting there to talk about whatever he's going to talk about. What is he going to talk about that's going to offend you? He wants the white people to still be the majority in this country. If it was possible, he would like it to be basically a white ethno state. Oh, well, some people that might hurt you, and you might think that's racist, but most of us can just say, okay, well, I don't necessarily believe with that. We'll go with something else. And he might talk about the history of all this stuff, that it's happened in Europe like this, and it's going to come here. These are things that a lot of conservatives, including famous Jews that have said this, guys like Ben Shapiro have been talking about this stuff until he gets about Israel and he says it's for Jews. It's okay then. So I'm glad but he doesn't even talk about the Jewish question. I mean, he's so vanilla when it comes to this. Now you might say he's a vanilla KKK guy because you haven't really researched it, but it's just this morning. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't believe everybody's getting so upset about it. And my wife, come out and said this, and I'm like, well, I'm all for about free speech. It's like, but you put that B in front of it. There's no such thing as that when you talk about free speech. That means everybody has right to have that speech, just like the players that want to do what they have to do. It's a private event, and it's in this situation, of course, the owners could fine them and fire them, like the president kind of like hinted at. It's not the same thing as being a public university and you've been allowed to be on there to have these speeches. All the shit that we talk about and all the put that they put on public universities about abortions and saying that it's okay, and they have Planned Parenthood all the time, or they stop recruiters to go there to talk to people about getting into the military. But we have somebody that actually wants to save, quote unquote, the natives of this country. I know the Indians were here maybe before us. We don't know that for 100%. There are a lot of different type of things about this. But the idea that the people that conquered and settled this country were 99% white, and then we're up to the point where 90% when I grew up, when I was born, and now we're 63% and going further and further down. People are concerned about that. And I don't know what the actual remedy of, I mean, I've said it many times in this channel that limit or stop immigration. Any type of immigration we should get for the next 10 or 15 years should be from Europe, and should be people that are native to those countries, speak English, and have a viable skill. I don't really care that they're white or black or whatever. I don't care about that. I would think that most of them should be white, and we should stop importing people from the third world into our country. All the statistics are there. Our IQ in this country has gone down very bad. There was a time that we're over 100, probably 101 was our normal IQ in this country. It's under 100 now. It's going to continually go further down because whoever, the media, the parasites that we all know who they are wanting us all to mix. So, and our IQ is going to go further down. And all the information's out there. All the studies are on this are out there. This is not some sort of pseudoscience that all the other stuff that the left is led by. Those are pseudoscience. When we talk about IQ and the differences between the races, it's hard science. It's been there. It's been studied for 30, 40 years. Thousands and thousands of studies have shown this. It shows what's happening in Western Europe with all the immigration that comes in and people come from areas that have lower IQ, that it's making us all stupid. And that's why we become very easily to be led. And this is why the people that are over this, and you talk about the Illuminati and all that shit, I don't know who it is, but there's people that want this to happen. And, you know, it's out there. But overall, that's all I want to talk about today. I'm going to see what it is. Hopefully there'll be a stream of it. I want to hear what Richard has to say. Again, I'm not a huge time supporter of Richard Spencer. I would have to say that he probably was one of the first persons that I started listening to, and I said, this guy's got some good points. But I was already into whatever this is. I alt-right, alt-right. I'm somewhere in between, a lot closer to the alt-right than the alt-right. But it makes it very difficult when I had this conversation. It's like anything else. If I say that feminism has got too much power, then the defense or the actual response to that is that I hate women, or I'm not for women's rights. And I try to say feminists are not about that either. It's the same thing about whatever Richard Spencer's going to say. When he talks about white ethno state, I'm like, well, I think that's a little bit too far, but I would stop immigration. Oh, you think because white people are better than any other race? No, I just want the country to be what it used to be. Whatever, call me de-progressive. I don't know what the bird is. I know that this country was a lot better. Now, we have progressed, whatever that means, as far as violence, crime, and all that. We've actually gone down. Regardless of what's happening in the inner city, the epidemic of people killing each other, we don't want to fix that, apparently. We just want to talk about whenever a cop kills a black person. But anyway, that's basically it. I'm going to say it now. Gainesville, you're being a bunch of cucks, which is normal. because I don't like Gainesville. Every time I go up there, and I got to go there on Monday, and I hate that place, and I'm sure that the residual will be there, and somebody will be talking about it, and I'm going to probably have to bite my tongue, and it's very a conservative area other than the university, but a lot of people are just in Gainesville being interviewed are like all freaked out about this. They think something's going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen in Gainesville is some stupid-ass leftist does something, and not provokes, but does something that then something happens. I would think it's going to go out with a hinge, and he's going to go to the next place he's got to go. And I hope he comes. I don't know. The thing is, I would like to go up there and listen to him, but there's just no way I can do it because I will be probably killed if I go in there. Because I am the demographic that they think is against all people of color. Because I'm over 50, I'm a white guy, and I must have been a conservative all my life when I wasn't. Here as a former member of the NAACP. Yes, I was. And I used to, was all about social justice when it came to civil rights. So, again, share this, like it, subscribe if you want. Tell me what I'm wrong, and we have the conversations down below. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye.